you know, where the potholes are and so on and so forth. So every day is an adventure. But, you know, yeah, I'd probably prefer the freeway. But this whole concept was prompted in my head because I had a conversation with somebody, and it was somebody that I hadn't talked to before, and we were talking about our careers and our life paths and things like that. And whenever I have a conversation like that, it's somewhat of a challenge for me because, you know, I don't follow the traditional path. And to a certain degree, I feel like I have to justify my choices. You know, I have to justify the reason that I don't have a 9-to-5 job and the reason why I don't plan on ever having a 9-to-5 job again if I can help it. You know, why it is that I can't stand to work at a job for longer than 6 months, and so on and so forth. And it is not an easy conversation to have. Similarly, I have to tell people why it is that I'm not married, or, you know, why it is that I am not actively pursuing the things that other people my age are pursuing. So, to a certain degree, I kind of feel like I either have to rationalize or apologize for the course my life has taken, and I don't see that as a particularly healthy thing to do. So after this conversation, I had to ask myself the question, well, why is it that I feel the need to justify or apologize for the way that my life looks? And in this particular example, it was at least partly because this was somebody I could potentially end up in a romantic relationship with. And that can apply to, in my case, anybody of the opposite gender who is within a reasonable age range. You know, I'm not going to put any boxes around that concept. But because there's the potential relationship there, you don't want to come off badly. You know, you don't want to give a bad impression, because despite knowing that the first impressions almost never tell you enough to actually gauge somebody, they are still somewhat important, because, you know, you have to encourage that other individual enough that they continue to talk with you afterwards. I have no idea if I did that. And I suppose I won't know for at least a little while still. And part of the reason why I feel the need to justify is because in our modern society, people struggle to get by, which is humorous given how abundant we are. But so many individuals say they would not date somebody that's unemployed. And to a certain extent, the road that I am traveling is only acceptable once you're earning a lot of money. So a lot of people look at me and assume that I'm lazy or incompetent or, you know, whatever the case may be. And I'm like, oh, that's so not the case, because I'm so driven. You know, I constantly want to achieve things, and it's like I can't shut my brain off. And I never can escape my job. You know, that's one of the issues with being a YouTuber or a writer, is that your brain is constantly focused on these tasks. You know, you don't go to an office and come home and forget about your job. It's not possible because you never run out of things to do as a YouTuber or as a writer, or even as a self-employed individual, possibly even as a small business owner. You know, like those jobs are life-consuming. So it's kind of like, well, yeah, if you do something, you might as well do something you really care about, because you're never going to escape it. And I'm sure that some people will watch this video and go, well, yeah, Allie, you're not you're not employed, you are lazy or you are incompetent, or, well, of course, you should at least explain why you aren't following the traditional path. That makes perfect sense. As some people ask me, do you really expect somebody else to carry you through life, to provide you with everything that you possibly need? And obviously the answer to that is no. I don't want to be a burden on somebody else. That is not something that I have ever wanted. But there's also a good reason as to why I don't want to have to explain myself to other people, and that's because when I feel the need to justify my behavior to somebody else, to a certain degree, I am trying to justify my behavior to myself as well. Why is it okay for me to make this choice? Why is it okay to me go down this path when nobody else is? Why is it okay for me to be different from everybody else? And a lot of people are like, oh, don't be ridiculous. Of course you're allowed to be different from everybody else. That's what makes you human. That's what makes you you. All these other things. But when it comes to careers, it is not acceptable. It's not very societally acceptable for you to not have a 9-to-5 job unless you're making lots of money doing something else. And here I am in the not earning enough money to support myself but not employed category, which is a hard one to be in, and I think is actually much more prevalent than people think. And to a certain degree, I know that if I was, say, making enough money to support myself, I wouldn't feel the need to justify my behavior to other people or to justify my choices to other people because, I know then that I made the right choice, that I pursued the right path because it's working for me. And I'm just not there yet, which is a challenge. So while there may be some self-doubt that I need to deal with in there, the second main reason why I feel the need to justify myself is because of the social norm. There is a very prevalent idea within our society that every individual will find a significant other, buy a house with a white picket fence, and have 2.5 kids, despite the fact that that is physically impossible to do. The 2.5 kids part, anyway. But of course, in my mind, while I don't have any objections to any of those things in particular, viewing that as the pinnacle of my existence seems so depressing, honestly. Like, that is the only goal that I can pursue is so sad to me. It's like, oh, that's it? That's all I can hope for? To have a significant other, a house, and kids? Like, oh, I want more than that. I want something extraordinary. I want to live a life that other people don't live, and so on and so forth. But I suppose that to a certain degree, I'm always going to have to explain or justify my reasons for living the life that I live, similar to how gay or lesbian people have to justify their sexual orientation to the people that they meet. And a lot of people are probably going to look at that and go, oh, come on, Allie, you can't possibly compare your situation to a gay or lesbian individual. For them, being with somebody of the opposite gender is soul crushing, and I'm like, and mine isn't. You don't think that a 9-to-5 job is soul crushing to me? Because I can guarantee you it is. And many people will then tell me, like, even my dad, he tells me, well, why don't you just go out and get a job and work at it, for a little while and save up money and blah, 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 blah. And I have done that. But, gay and lesbian people have also dated people of the opposite gender in most circumstances. They don't like it. And it's just as devastating to them to date somebody of the opposite gender as it is for me to dedicate my life to a 9-to-5 job for any amount of time. And like I said, many people are probably going to be like, oh, come on, Allie, you can't possibly say that it's the same thing. And I'm like, well, no, it's not the same thing. But to say that I'm not struggling because I'm not facing the same situation is also not accurate, And I think part of the reason why I think that these two concepts compare really well is because a lot of people use the concept choose as if you can choose to be one way or the other. And when it comes to gay or lesbian individuals, you have the question of, well, why would anybody choose that path if they could have chosen another way? You know, nobody looks at life and says, how can I possibly make things harder? That's what I'm going to do. So a lot of people view my job situation in the same way, where they're like, well, if you're struggling with money, why don't you just choose another path? But in my head, it's no less of a choice. You know, I didn't look at the world and say, how hard can I make this on myself? That's the road I'm going to take. No. Instead, this path chose me. I didn't get to choose and say, yeah, I totally want to be an entrepreneurship. I totally want to be an entrepreneur. I want to pick the hardest path and walk down it. Nobody would choose that. It's ridiculous to think that they would. Nobody wants to increase the struggle in their life. Struggling is not particularly fun. So when... And it might be possible. It might be possible for me to change my feelings about a 9-to-5 standard job and lifestyle and so on and so forth. Just as it might be possible to change a gay man's sexuality. I don't know what is entirely possible. You know, nobody can know what's possible. But my guess is it's a ridiculous waste of time. Because more than likely, you will have to dedicate a lifetime to changing that behavior. You know, you'd have to dedicate your entire life to being straight if you wanted to change yourself from being gay or something. And similarly, I would have to dedicate my entire life to changing my beliefs about a 9-to-5 job standard lifestyle, when I'd probably be much happier and much better off if I just embraced that aspect of myself. You know, if I just embraced that I am not suited for a 9-to-5 and that my life is not going to look like everybody else's, then I'm free to actually pursue the things that I care about, and I'm not wasting a whole bunch of time trying to change who I am. So I'm sure that some people are going to look at this and go, you're so melodramatic, Allie. You know, like, come on, you can't possibly say that it's the same thing, and it's not the same thing, because, you know, obviously those are two very different aspects of life. And, you know, at least in my case, people aren't throwing rocks at me or something in the street because they don't like me kissing a particular person or something. My struggle is very private. You know, it's not very public. Most people aren't going to see this aspect of my life unless they watch this YouTube video or, you know, other YouTube videos that I make. And even then, by the time they watch it, I might very well be making money, and then it's socially acceptable again, whatever the case may be. And while this path is a struggle for me, I'm also very inspired by it. You know, I'm very excited to see where my life might go, because, you know, what I'm doing is not something that most people do. So to a certain extent, the result is unknown. And that's really exciting. You know, I can't predict exactly how this is going to turn out. And it might be hard. It might suck. Who knows? But knowing that I'm doing something that not everybody does is a really inspiring concept. It's fun to walk the uncharted course to a certain degree. If I could find the road for the charted path, you know, I'd probably take that because it's easier. But, you know, I seem to be on this backwater country road or something, and it's fun because, you know, there are lots of bumps, and who knows where, you know, where the potholes are and so on and so forth. So every day is an adventure. But, you know, yeah, I'd probably prefer the freeway. And part of what I want to discuss is how I don't blame other people for not understanding my situation. I don't blame other people for their ability to enjoy and thrive in a 9-to-5 job. It's actually something I very much admire. And I think a lot of people, the reason they dislike me saying the things that I say is because they assume that I'm judging them for being okay at their 9-to-5 job. And I'm like, well, no, I actually kind of wish I could be you right now. But, you know, my perspective doesn't match yours. And you might admire my willingness to chart, you know, an unexplored course, but it's a hard road. And yeah. But one of the things that I've recognized over the years, and I have been facing judgments like this since I was 7. You know, I've been told my entire life that I'm too young to have opinions or too inexperienced to have that perspective, or whatever the case may be. And this is kind of another example of that same concept. But I've learned to embrace this aspect of myself, and I've come to recognize that there is a reason I am the way that I am, and that the variety of humans in the world is actually a wonderful thing. You know, it's good to have people that think differently than the average or the norm, because they're going to be able to handle situations that other people might not be. They're going to be able to come up with new ideas that people within the norm won't think of, because, you know, they're outside of the norm, because they're outside of the average perspective. So there's a place for everybody in our world. I really believe that. And so what I'm encouraging all of us to do is actually embrace our differences. You know, allow people to be who they are without judgment. Be compassionate, be forgiving, be accepting, you know, and that's not just for people who aren't like me or something like that. That's something that I also need to do. I think I'm pretty good at it, but, you know, once again, there's always room for improvement. But in order for us to really move forward as a society, especially at this point in our technological development, it is so vital that we start to recognize how individuals contribute to the overall benefit that we receive as a society. You know, we need the differences. We need change. You know, we need individuals and different skills and different talents and so on and so forth. And whatever form that takes is beautiful. So I know that this video might be a little confusing or a little depressing or something along those lines, but I'm really excited to see how we can really start to change the world if we embrace our caring side. You know, if we allow people to express the truth of their heart and so on, it's going to be amazing. And I'm really excited to see what the future holds and to see what kind of things come out of this. You know, if we embrace our own unique talents and differences and so on, I'd be really excited to see what kind of things we can come up with together. So that's where I'm going to leave you today. I did my best to end on a positive note. I think I did okay, but, you know, if you disagree, let me know in the comments. If you like the video, make sure you click on the thumbs up button and then subscribe to the channel and click on the notification bell so you know when new videos are posted. Additionally, I would love to have you as a supporter on my Patreon page. Financial support really provides me with a sense that I am saying things that are meaningful and valuable to you, provides me with a sense of security and the feeling that I'm free to continue to explore the kind of things that I want to explore, and that, you know, that my my efforts are appreciated. So I definitely would love to see you over there. I know that every time that I do a Patreon thing that I say something different, but they're all true. I come up with these things on the spot, so it's within that moment I'm like, yeah, that is something that contribution gives me. It provides me with this and that and the other thing, and so on and so forth. And the reason that I say it in that manner is because I'm trying to express my desire and my need clearly, and that's an aspect of my life that I'm currently working on a lot. So I would love to see you over on Patreon, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure you like it, make sure you subscribe, and I thank you for taking the time out of your day to watch this. So I will see you again soon. I appreciate that you've watched this, and I love you all. Bye.